this is not me calling out his professionalism. I think if I were in the same shoes as him, I might be operating the same way. He knows he's one of the top tackles in the NFL. But I think as far as installing a culture here with the Texans, I think that they needed to move away from it.
Anthony, I thought Paul was super interesting on Laremy Tunsil, and Landry Locker talked about this yesterday as well, that it's not that Laremy Tunsil is a bad guy. It's not that Laremy Tunsil is a bad teammate. It's not that Laremy Tunsil is someone that you necessarily have to worry about. And like to state the obvious, like Laremy Tunsil is probably still, despite how good he is, best known for being the gas mask guy on draft night. So like the idea, like people are talking about his character and whatever, and it's like, well, isn't he the guy that, like, yes, all of that is true, but he has been very consistent on the field as a player for a long time. I'm very curious to see what happens here when he is no longer in a position where he would even remotely be a leader, where he is someone who can just come in and like do the job, or that there is an expectation of leadership and maybe some help from coaches in a way that he hasn't really had before. But even amongst his group, like Biotish is the leader of that group. Allegretti's got Super Bowl rings. Wiley's got at least one Super Bowl ring. Like, these are guys that don't need to be led. Like, hopefully he'll be helpful to Brandon Coleman playing next to him, but like helpful in the way that a teammate who you have to communicate with constantly is helpful. They don't need Laremy Tunsil to be a leader here. They need Laremy Tunsil to play awesome left tackle. And it seems like that's exactly the ideal spot for Laremy Tunsil.
Yeah, it was definitely interesting to hear both of them sort of kind of allude to that. But I will say, like, I sort of kind of do want my left tackle, or, you know, I guess my question to you would be, who's that person on our offensive line that is going to be that feisty guy? If
Biotish.
Okay.
Like, Biotish is like, if someone hits Jayden on the sideline, Biotish and Wiley are racing to take that guy's head off.
Okay.
And by the way, you want who else has some of that in him? Coleman.
Okay.
Coleman's got a nasty streak. And I think, like, if Allegretti has a nasty streak, like, he doesn't mess around. Dude, once Sam is back.
Yeah, when Sam is back.
Sam is the one winning that race.
Yeah.
So, like, if you're going to be in that room and the other five guys at the top of the depth chart, with Allegretti probably moving into a backup role, assuming that Coleman's going to play left guard, are Nick Allegretti, Tyler Biotish, Sam Cosmi, Andrew Wiley, and Brandon Coleman.
And we just need you to come out there and do your job then.
Just fit into the room, bro. You'll turn nasty fast.
Yeah.
Who's the sweetest person you know, Anthony? We got someone's grandma that we can throw in that room. She'll turn nasty. With those, like, she'll fight someone. Like, they have an approach. Like, because the thing is, like, this team isn't dirty by any stretch. It's not that kind of nastiness.
But it's
like,
a brotherhood. It's like,
yes, he's gonna, like, but it's a brotherhood that also can celebrate individuality.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I remember Mark Schlereth telling this story, or some version of this story over the course of years, where, like, back in the Hogs days, some of those guys would get together. They had, like, the 5 o'clock club, and they'd go drink a beer sitting on a bucket behind the facility. And I think it was Mark, or maybe it was one of the teammates, one of the other guys, like, as they got older especially, like, they didn't participate in the 5 o'clock club anymore because they wanted to go home and see their kids because they were older and they had a family now. And, like, the other guys didn't hold it against him because he was going to be his own guy. They always had a seat for him if he wanted to come. And if Laremy Tunsil wants to do fashion stuff or whatever, like, he might bond with Jayden over some of that stuff. I don't know if you've been paying attention to some of Jayden's brand deals this offseason. He ain't doing all the different chips and this and that. Like, this dude's attacking some different lanes to take advantage of his fame for monetary value. He and his mom, if you watch the Amazon Prime doc, like, they're very specific about the brand that they are crafting for Jayden Daniels. So, for all we know, we might see Jayden and Laremy Tunsil sitting, runway side at Paris Fashion Week or something. Like, I guess Paris Fashion Week, I think, just happened. Pick another fashion week. I don't know why I know that, but pick another fashion week. Milan, if that hasn't happened yet. And if they bond over that, great. Like, there's plenty of, in a locker room with 53 guys, 68 or whatever it is now with the practice squad. Like, there are room for different personalities and different individuals to be individualistic. As long as you come together and do your job and you don't do it in a way that takes away from the job that others are doing. Be an active participant in meeting. Help your teammates where they need it. Like, yes, on the field, there's a play style with an aggressiveness that this team requires, and I think they probably think they can tap into that. Or he's so good as a pass protector, if he doesn't quite meet that bar, it's worth the trade-off. And I don't really believe in making a lot of trade-offs when you're talking about that kind of stuff, but you can't, like, there's certain things that are worth it when maybe the trade-off is a little bit on the play style, but it's not in a problematic way. Now, if they start telling him, like, we need you to do this, and he just ignores them, well, that becomes a different story. But I think they know what they're doing. I think that they understand that there just aren't like, in theory, if you're looking for a top 5 left tackle, there's only 5 of them. And they had a chance to get a guy who they probably think is one. And if that's the case, then you kind of got to do it, because I don't think they have another way to go about getting one, considering where they're in the draft, where they are on the draft, and where they probably will be drafting for the foreseeable future, assuming that they are as good as they were last year for the foreseeable future, because Jayden is as good as he was last year for the foreseeable future, if not better.
Yeah, and I think Brandon Coleman, I think he ultimately wins here, just because to the left of him, he has a 5-time Pro Bowler, and then to the right of him, he also has a guy in Biadasz who's Pro Bowl caliber as well. So I think his growth, his development is definitely going to be something to monitor, and I think he probably can grow into, what Sam Cosmi is, and also what Brandon Scherf was when he was here. So
I mean, that's a high bar. I would be surprised if he gets to the Pro Bowl, like borderline All Pro. I mean, there's some people that had Cosmi like top 5 guard in the league level. I don't know that I was that high on him, but like, that dude's really good. But if Coleman can get 85, 90% of that, like, hell yeah. Like, we like to use the Madden ratings on this show. Like, if Sam Cosmi's a 92 and Coleman can be an 86, nevertheless an 88, like, I'll take that for my second best guard all day, and he's cheap for the next 3 years. Mm-hmm. Or they'll extend him early and get him on hopefully a pretty decent deal if they want to extend him after year 3. So I just think it's interesting, and like, a year ago, I'd be more concerned about that. And I think I've been kind of wondering if they would take on some more risk off the field. And to me, this is and what that might even look like. To me, this is the right kind of risk. A guy that may not be the prototype for your culture, but is not going to pull negatively at it, is more of a neutral, even if he's not the positive that you want out of most of your players. And that hopefully will adapt to the surroundings that he's in, and maybe even you get the best out of him. Maybe you even get a little bit nastier of a run blocker. Maybe you get a little bit more nasty out of him. I mean, Bobby Johnson's a pretty intense guy as an offensive line coach, so I'm very curious to see what Laremy Tunsil looks like in this culture, in this locker room, in this brotherhood, because I'm pretty sure he can still pass block. That part I'm not that curious about, because I feel pretty confident that it's going to go well.
Hey, this is DA, and you're listening to The Hoffman Show on the Team 980 and the Odyssey app.